have done as a lifting hand international. You have done some projects to help refugees in Greece and also in Iraq, to help Yazidis and other refugees. What are some of the main projects that you have done, and what are some other projects that you have in mind or you are planning to do for refugees?
So for Yazidi refugees in Greece specifically, we're very lucky, because up until about 6 months ago, so that's about almost 5 years total, the camps we worked with in northern Greece were only Yazidi camps, right? So most camps everywhere, especially in Greece, are mixed camps, where you have people from everywhere with all kinds of different backgrounds and beliefs, and it can cause tension. But when we were working with the Yazidis, there's such a unity among you. And of course, I'm sure that within the community, there's not always unity. I know that. We're all human. But the community works so well together. Like the communication and the cooperation, like we would ask one particular guy, like he was kind of our resident Yazidi volunteer. We had several actually, but him particularly, he was in charge of distribution. And so his name's Abdullah. So we would say, Abdullah, like we need the numbers for how many families are living in these rows of tent or in these rows of containers. And like he would just get on it, and within an hour, the information would be there. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how organized the community was, how peaceful, how any conflict they had with us, even there weren't many conflicts. It was more of requests or can you help us with this? They would come to us. And there's this really, what do you call it? Just a really diplomatic way. There was just never any tension, even though we know that the Yazidis in the camp were suffering horrific trauma.
Yeah.
But they treated us with, I say the past tense, because so many have left for Germany, thank God.
Yeah.
But that was incredible. Anyway, so we had a community center next to, it's now 2 camps. And so it's basically focusing on psychosocial support. So we do some distribution of clothing and food for when the seasons change and they need jackets instead of t-shirts and some basic food. But the really important thing is to provide them with like a structured place of healing where they can leave the camp. They don't have to stay in the camp. They can leave the camp and come to us, and they can just sit down in our spaces and just relax, take classes. There's a women's space just for women. They can do all kinds of activities. There's a space just for children with activities designed for creativity and for learning and healing. There's language classes, which are very, very popular because German is one of the languages we teach, and most Yazidis hopefully will end up joining the diaspora in Germany. And we've been doing that for 5 years in Greece, and now we have one of the camps is now mixed, and so now we're integrating people from Afghanistan, and like a dozen countries are being represented in the camps now, and it's been fine. There hasn't really been. It's just been fine. The transition's been fine. I'm so happy and honored to have been able to work with Yazidis so closely, and to learn so much more firsthand from just about your culture, and seeing people's pictures of Lalish and taking your little like your little balls. I can't remember what they are to Lalish, and keeping beautiful bags, and just something that I never knew before, and just my gosh, just incredible people. In the future, we, as an organization, we don't specifically target like a demographic. We don't say like, unless it's in Iraq. We don't have any projects coming up in Iraq right now. Most of it's just because we have these other programs that take, our funding and our money, and fundraising is difficult. And but in general, what we do for refugees is depends on the place and the country. So in Greece, we have a community center for what used to be all Yazidi, now it's mixed. In Jordan, we distribute goats for milking to Syrian refugees, because most of the refugees there are Syrian. Yeah. And then in the state of Utah, we have a huge warehouse, and we send aid out from American Fork to what is it, 20 destinations: Jordan, Turkey, Somalia, Lebanon, Afghanistan, Bangladesh. Like the list goes on and on. We find it quite hard to get aid into Kurdistan. It's just not the easiest region to work in without specifically focusing on that region. I can talk about days and days.
I think you are doing incredible work, like just going there and volunteering and listening to the refugees and showing the love and support. I think that's important. Like when I was a refugee, when somebody would come to us, listen to our stories and tell us that here we are with you and you are not alone. That feeling was like giving us some hope, like as a refugees. And so I think you are doing a great, incredible job with your organization also. And I have another question, which is like I feel is just more general, but whenever they talk about refugees, they refer to like 60. There are 60 million refugees or more in the world, in whole world. But many countries would just take that as an excuse. They will say that we are done. We don't have any more power to help the refugees because that is a big number. So my question: do you feel that we should just look at that as a big number, or as a human beings who went through a lot, who went through wars, genocides, atrocity, and it's our responsibility, the social and human responsibility to help those people to act and to not just say that we cannot help refugees anymore?
That's a very good question. And I have to say that I wish that we would learn from history. I love history, and I'm reading deeply about so after World War II, there were at least 1 million refugees who couldn't return home, at least 1 million. And for that time, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And no one wanted them because they were from a specific religion that people didn't like at the time. No one wanted them. The USA didn't want them. UK didn't want them. No one wanted them. And so it took years and years and years for them to find a home. And looking back now, when I tell people, because I love history and I'm always talking about it, because for some reason I think people want to hear about history. My friends are very nice and very patient, but I tell them, like, this is what happened. Like, the US said, no, we don't want them. I tell a story and they're just like, what? How did we let this happen? Why didn't we let them in? Why did Congress say no to refugees? Why didn't President Truman try harder? And in my head, I'm like, this is happening now. Yeah. It's the exact same story transferred to now. So for us, we look back at history and we can look at our world leaders and ourselves and be like, wow, people should have tried harder. But we're doing the exact same thing. Countries are saying, we don't want you. We don't want you, and we don't want you. We don't want you because you might be a terrorist, or we don't want you because I don't think you're actually a refugee. Maybe you just want money. Or I don't want you because you're a man. We want women and children. Like, it's so messed up.
Yeah.
And with of course, ideally, we would be able to fix all this, the religious and political problems that are just out of control. We can't do that, but we can open our doors and let people in.
Yeah.
What is so hard about that? What is so hard about increasing the amount of refugees every year into the United States? The United States and all these other wealthy countries have the capacity to absorb everyone. Even if we have to open some sort of temporary camp in the middle of Arizona, I don't know, it would be better than living in a camp where somewhere in Africa where you will live there for the rest of your life and there's no hope of education, there's no hope of anything. And so I just think that the numbers that we allow in, what is it, Trump last year was 14,000 refugees?
Yeah, something like that.
And Biden increased it to 60,000. And it's ridiculous. We should be taking in many more. You know why? Because those countries would do the exact same for us.
Yeah. And the refugee problem is just like universal, and it's all about like all these wars that are happening, the conflict in the areas, the many of this like just like I'm not saying that to accept the Yazidis, like Yazidis for example, the Yazidi genocides have been like recognized by so many countries, like even Belgium. They just like formally recognize the Yazidi genocide, but still they don't have anything in that recognition to accept the Yazidis. So it's just like the world is not accepting the refugees anymore. It's just like they feel that is too dangerous to take that step. And I think like Germany was like one of the best countries who took more refugees. Like I'm not sure if you have information about the Germany and the refugees, but Germany is one of the countries that received around 100,000 Yazidis after the genocide. So, Hayley, my last question, our final question to you. I would like to hear your message to the refugees, and if you can share also like few words, like a short message to all the refugees in Arabic, that would be great too.
Well, I'll start in English.
Okay.
But the only thing I have to say is I respect you, and respect is a big word because it's full of other words. It's full of love. It's full of awe. It's full of just I can witness what you've been going through. So yes, respect. I respect you. I respect you specifically, Dawood. You and your wife living in Utah. Like of course you love your lives, and I follow you on Instagram, and you and your wife make the most of it. Like you seem very happy and ambitious, and you try to be fit and everything. Like, but of course you miss your family. Of course you miss your homeland, and I'm aware of that. But I respect you so much.
Okay.
So just know that whenever I see you come up on Instagram, I always think about he's great, his wife is great, and I'm sure he misses home and his family. And so I send a little extra love to you whenever I look at your account. And so yeah, I respect you. I guess in Arabic it would be بحترمكم كمان. يعني عربيتي ضعيفة. I don't speak it as much as I should. And كمان أنا خجولة على فيديو لما أحكي عربي. But yes, احترام is a very important word of respect. احترام الاحترام. Every day, all day.
And that's great. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the work that you're doing, your organization, and you just being there with the refugees, showing the love, showing the support, and also doing as much as you can to lift hands of those refugees. Thank you so much for being on my show to share your ideas, your thoughts. I'm so happy to have you, Hayley.